Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the Ceilidh Club Live. I'm delighted tonight that we have Etienne Kubwabo with us. Now, Etienne is a man of many, many parts. He is a DJ, a filmmaker, a creator of a comic book, and not just that, but a BBC presenter as well on the podcast Word Up. My word. Welcome, Etienne. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to speak to you and share my journey with you guys.
Well, it's great that you're here. Now, you do an awful lot of things in that introduction there, and I just wonder, how did you ever get into being this creative powerhouse?
I mean, like I remember growing up, I've always loved storytelling and just kind of connecting with human beings through story and music. And I remember when I was young, we used to have this old 80s broken TV box on the back of our house, like the ones in the 80s. And it was broken, so the inside part were not in there. So I remember I used to get my brothers and sisters to sit right in front of the TV, and I'd go through the back and just start acting out scenes that I'd seen on TV. So as long as I can remember, like 8, 9, I can't even believe I remember that far. But yeah, that's how it's kind of like started. And then when I got to Scotland, I just really wanted to do something I was passionate about and something I feel like I was put on this planet to do, just kind of tell stories, inspire the world and make a world a better place.
Oh, well, that's great. And telling stories, making the world a better place by telling stories. So what's your inspiration for the stories that you tell?
I think my inspiration is more likely my family. My family, we're really close, and obviously my childhood growing up and other people that I looked up to. I've had a bit of a journey coming to Scotland as well, and that's kind of like made me appreciate me being here, because there's a lot of people who would be in this situation, who would kill to be in this situation where I am and have these all opportunities. So my whole life, I think, I know is my inspiration for all these stories.
Oh, brilliant. And you've mentioned a couple of times coming to Scotland. When did you come to Scotland, and where did you come from?
I came to Scotland in 2009. I remember December. It was freezing snow. I think I've seen snow for the first time from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And like my first impression, when you come to Scotland, the very first time, that's the first time I went to a Western world country. So my whole perception of Scotland was this sort of New York lookalike, big city, long, motorways and high rises. And then we landed in Paisley. I was like, where are all the tall buildings, And and then my family was already here, and I was just kind of reuniting with my family, and it was a fantastic reunion, seeing my family after a long time.
Oh, that's lovely. And who's in your family then?
We're like 6 of us: my mom, my brothers and sisters, and we've got family friends who live around as well. So it's like a huge team. Like if we meet for a Christmas dinner or there's a little party at home, it's really loud. It's really loud, but we are that close, and we always see each other. And when I arrived in Scotland, they had come to receive me at the airport. So I was like the VIP.
Well, that's lovely. Now you've got this. We've got running along the bottom of the screen here. Just if I can do this, you probably can't see my finger. Hang on a sec. Down there, just there. The URL for the Beats of War. Now this is a crowdfunder you're running just now. But tell us about the Beats of War. What is it, and how did you come to create this?
Beats of War came to me about 3-4 years ago, I can say. Growing up, I've always watched superheroes like Superman, Batman, but I always wanted to tell my own stories, but I didn't know how I was going to tell these stories. And then when I got to Scotland, came here, went to uni, college, the usual, got into the system. And one time it was 3 o'clock in the morning. Honestly, that's the weirdest time I always get my ideas, going to the fridge to get a drink. And then I was like, what if I could create a superhero, a black superhero in Scotland? But I was not sure of the story and the context on how I was going to bring this story together, because I really care about a story. And I feel like if you're telling the story, you have to be really connected to that story. It needs to mean something to you. And then throughout my time being in Scotland, I faced challenges, trying to fit in. I faced things of racism, people calling me names, the police stopping me like 50, 20 times. But I also met some wonderful people, who are my friends up to now. So I wanted to kind of like imagine those two worlds, where I come from and Scotland, which is my new home, and create a story that kind of shows how people, can be together and live together as a happy society without any sort of discrimination or racism. So when Black Panther came out, this is a Marvel character-based movie by Stan Lee. It came out. When I went to watch it with my friend, can I just say I came out of the cinema straight to my computer. I was writing for like 3 hours nonstop. That was the first time the whole story. I don't know, like some sort of magic took over my head, and I started writing this story that I felt like I was really connected to internally, and I wanted to kind of incorporate some characters that I really care about, who are like my family, my friends, and also highlight these issues. And then that's how Bits of War just got born. Yes.
Brilliant. So you wrote down the story and basically the plot line for
Yeah.
Beats of War, did you? Right. Okay. Yeah. But the comic itself. Now let me just see if I can find this. We've got should have somewhere. Or maybe I haven't managed to upload it. Okay, we'll see if we can work on that one. But it's a beautiful image that you're creating there in there. I mean, it's lovely. The images are very striking and strong and powerful and dramatic.
Yeah.
Now, how did that come about? And was that you? Was that a friend?
No, like I always feel like for me, like as a creative person, collaboration is the most important thing in all these things we do, be it film, books, and anything you really want to pursue as a creative person. You always need people who are good at certain things that you're not good at to come together and create something. So when I had this comic book idea, I wrote a script, which is in the form of a screenwriter script. It's for film. So I didn't know like comic books have their own scripts and the way they are structured. So I had to look for people who've been working in the comic book world, script writers and artists who's really experienced and is good at drawing. And yeah, we kind of like collaborated and brought our ideas together. But initially, all the ideas from the character, the sort of powers I want the character to have, the sort of symbols that I feel like I was connected to, I did some really embarrassing sketches, like a 5-year-old sketches that I had to show them, because I remember going for a coffee with Gary. I was like, Gary, do not judge me. If you see some of the sketches, don't judge me. It's part of the process. So I got a good team of people who are really creative and were passionate, and then we had it done.
Perfect. Now I've managed to get it now, so I think this should take it up on screen. Oops, let me just see. Hang on. There we go. So we can see that behind us. Hang on. Okay. If upload it is wrong, hang on 1 second. Oh, that's a video clip. Sorry. Well, we can see it behind us here. And you can see just the general, the dramatic effect. I mean, Glasgow's, I think you've captured some of the beauty of Glasgow in this. I had a friend of mine that said that Glasgow was beautifully ugly. They said about it, and I said, because they hadn't been to Edinburgh. I said Edinburgh's quite different in all its different ways and things like this. And Glasgow, you have a beautiful building here, and then you have devastation all around, and then you have a tower block further along, and you actually captured it, I think, graphically very well in this book.
Yeah, I felt like growing up in Glasgow, and obviously I've been to Edinburgh and other cities of Scotland. There's some really cool landmarks that make the city what it is. And by the way, in the next series on the series to come, I'm going to touch on Edinburgh. So Edinburgh people, wait, we're coming. I feel like just growing up from being a teenager and coming to the city became part of me. And I feel like I really wanted to highlight, the city in the comic books. Even when you read the comic books, there's some sort of exterior photography highlighted in the stories and the sequences that you read and be like, I know this street. It's probably Buchanan Street somewhere.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was really key for me. I didn't really just want to do a comic book and just kind of put it out there without some sort of connection to the city and to my personality and people that are around me that I grew up inspiring me as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, that really comes across, and I think, without being too schmaltzy about it, there seems to be a love for the city in there as well. It speaks like that. It's a very interesting way you've pulled lots of different things together in this book. And normally I don't read this type of thing, but I really enjoy doing it, and it speaks to quite a lot of different ages as well, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like I wanted it to start from maybe a 9 years old, reading and growing up. And you know what? I really create this book. I've seen a lot of films in Hollywood coming shooting in Glasgow, and they change the traffic lights. They use our beautiful landmarks and the beautiful architecture of our cities into, New York or Hollywood, and they really leave out Glasgow or Edinburgh, mentioning it that this is where this is happening. So I was really keen to making our city the real city. When you read in the comic book, it's Glasgow. When we go to Edinburgh, it's going to be in Edinburgh. So that once we start making films in future, all these kids who are growing up to these stories would have gone on that journey of seeing their city being put on the map and being known worldwide. I mean, Scotland is known worldwide, but still, I think we can do more in film and cinema.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. You've got a crowdfunder underway for the second book to come out.
Yes.
And so it's down here. If anyone's watching, you can see this down here. It's the shortened version of the crowdfunder. Just go to that, click on, or rather copy that and click on that, and then you can contribute to that. And I think you've got a few £100 or so more to do to get to your amount. Is that right?
Yeah, we're like halfway through. We're almost there, and I just been sharing in that, and whoever is out there and is watching and would like to support. And by the way, everybody who supports will get something in return, like a copy when it comes out exclusively before the whole world gets it. So it's going to be exciting.
There you go, everyone.
Yes.
Okay, that's brilliant. We'll take that down just now. But that's wonderful. Okay, I was listening to your podcast, some of the back back editions of the podcast, Word Up, and it's really terrific. I mean, you're reaching into areas that and talking to people who may not have got the exposure that they would do normally on the BBC, but it's done in a lovely format that you and Vivian, is it?
Vanessa,
your co-pilot there, put across. Now, how did that come about? How did you get this gig with the BBC then?
I think this came about when I released Beats of War. So when I released Beats of War in July, BBC The Social got in touch to do a video about how I created Scotland's first ever Black superhero.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, when that came out, I just started getting emails, and from there, one of the email was through another production company called The Big Light that produces podcasts. They're like, "We've got this really cool show. It'll be really good to have you on it." First, I was a bit skeptical. I was like, "Okay," but when they told me the whole idea and how they wanted to highlight stories of people in Scotland, unsung heroes and trailblazers of people of color that you probably haven't heard of, and that got to me. I was like, "This is what it's all about, shining a light and getting the city on our map, and also making sure that people are doing good things in the community are recognized."
Yeah, and so I know that I know some of the people that you've talked to and some of the stories that you've uncovered. But tell us, what are the ones that really stick in your mind? The people that you've met and the stories that they've told.
What really stuck on my mind was mainly organizations that run things to do with like disabilities and mental health, because a lot of people really struggle with mental health, especially people of color, and they don't really openly discuss these issues because of either their culture or their things that are obviously growing up in Africa. It's a taboo as a man to talk about how you feel. When you start talking about how you feel, you're weak. So there's organizations that deal with mental health and people who work in those organizations advising us and telling people that, look, this is where you can go, this is who you can call if really feeling well. But also other trailblazers and the other organizations that we spoke to in general were really positive and helpful. But those about mental health and disability kind of stood out for me, because you have to be in the right mind, in a good spirit to want to do what you want to pursue in life. And we all need that. We all need someone to talk to. We all need someone that we can call if we feel down. And honestly, that was the most important part of it.
Well, that's very interesting. And I listened to that one today, particularly when you were talking about those different areas and talking about the people. And I suppose mental health now is something that is far more accessible to or acceptable to talk about than it was probably at any time in the past. Now, which is a wonderful thing. And you mentioned some great resources there that people can reach out to, and even more so in the area of people of colour, that they can reach out to certain groups that just weren't there 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely thing that you're doing with that. And are you in the studio together, the pair of you? Do you do that yet, or?
Yeah, socially distance. They've put up this structure that kind of allows us to be in far from each other and chat to each other, and also wear a mask. You've got to follow the rules as well. And sometimes if it's not possible, we try and do things virtually, like if she's in Edinburgh or whatever, and it's not possible for her to come, we can still do it. I mean, technology has allowed us to do a lot of things during lockdown. I mean, Zoom and all this technology was not as popular. So, but it's come in handy, but we're mostly together in the studio to just kind of have that sort of human interaction. When you're looking at somebody, there's more, chemistry there when you're chatting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. And what's the plan for Word Up? Is it how many episodes are you going to be doing? Do you know, or?
I mean, we've got 10 episodes, so we've got 8 coming and 9 and 10. And then after that, if we get a good response, hopefully we'll be commissioned for another series.
Okay. Well, it's brilliant. It's a great podcast. I recommend it to anybody. Word Up. You can get it on BBC Sounds and probably anywhere else as well. But it's really is a terrific. It's a real eye opener and very entertainingly done as well. You've got a great rapport between the two of you.
Thank you.
You always seem to be laughing.
We always seem to be laughing. I remember the first time I met Vanessa to do a trial pirate episode. We kind of like started talking. It felt like we already knew each other. So I also believe in working with people with the same energy. You're on the same frequency. Like you're not really forcing it. It's just magically happening. And I guess it's because we all care about the same things. We're into film. We're into shining a light on a lot of unsung heroes. So we kind of like connected straight away.
Very good. All right. Well, turning to your films now, tell us a bit about. I was watching some of the trailers to your films, and I really like the 19 Woolwich Place.
Oh, 19. That was the first feature film that we worked on along with my friend. That took us a year to do. Believe it or not, it was a tough process. We come from a background of music video directing, but we kind of started doing that because we're not confident enough when it comes to storytelling, camera work. So after shooting over 400 music videos about 2017, we said, look, we met because we loved stories. Let's shut down everything, save up some money, and shoot the movie. Because doing a movie, a low budget movie, it's tough. So we had to work around people's schedules. We're not paying them like Netflix or Hollywood film studios. So it took us over a year. That's finished now. And right now I'm working on a new film, which I'll start shooting in July.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Do you want to tell us anything about it, or is it under wrap still?
It's kind of still under wrap, but it's a drama crime film that I feel like there's a lot of conversations that have been happening in the last few months around us being in the pandemic, about Black Lives Matter movements and stuff like that. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I feel like I've gone through and some of my friends have gone through. And then I really want to touch on those points and just kind of highlight them. It's a good drama, from Scotland, put it out there, and I think the sky is the limit. Yeah, that's absolutely all I can say.
Okay. I think that's called a teaser, is it not? That's a nice teaser that you've left us with there. And is that you mentioned is about a year in the making? Obviously, we're in a strange time just now. I mean, your first film was a year in the making. Is that about the length of time you think it will generally take from conception to action?
Oh, you mean this is the second film? No, the second film is gonna take me about 16 days. That's kind of like planned drama. I've planned,
I see.
Yeah, and then I will take about a few months to edit that. And by summer next year, that will come out, because working as an independent filmmaker, you're kind of like doing everything yourself. So I'm kind of like giving my enough time to cut it properly. Have some people in the industry come and look at it, give me some feedback, go and cut it nicely, add some music, and it'll be good to go.
Okay. All right. And are you filming in July because you're wanting the good weather?
Yeah. I'm freezing when I'm outside. I need to be outside and comfortable so that I'm not, I mean, that was intentional. All the actors were like, Etienne, we know.
Well, it's just a good job you're not filming it just now anyway.
Yeah, definitely not.
Now, I was listening to you in your podcast there. You were saying that NWA was one of your favorite bands, and certainly Express Yourself is one of my favorite songs of all time. What is it about them that you like?
I feel like NWA stood for what they were going through, what was going on in their community, and there wasn't any other way they could express that instead through rap. Rap is like poetry, you can talk about things that you're going through, and that really resonates with me. Even some other musicians that I like as well, I always like a story, someone who's just not making music for the sake of making it. What story are you trying to tell? What issues are you highlighting through all your music? So that's really what stood out for me. They were facing all these same problems with the police in the 1980s. I mean, these issues are being tackled on right now. So they've seen that. It's like they've already seen the future. So really, I like them and how they approached it, and they kind of changed the broad to America up to date. And I'm sure they still have an effect on other rappers or musicians or poets in the world.
The lyrics of Express Yourself, I just think are fantastic. Put to that amazing beat. It's I love it every time I hear it, and it's reminded me I must go and listen to it again. It's been a while since I've listened to it. Yeah. Now, at the Ceilidh Club, we're all about bringing people together and people from all nationalities, all backgrounds. And being based in London, we're very lucky to be able to have this lovely pool of people from everywhere that can easily come and experience a bit of Scottish culture. And it's great to be able to do that. But listening to your podcast, it's made me aware, and of course, so many other things have made me aware recently that there's obviously just a lot of privilege in the world, and particularly if you're male and white and middle class. You have a privilege that one you may not have questioned too much in the past, but probably are questioning a lot more now. What can we do? What are small, simple things that we can do that will just make the world a little bit of a better place? That will make the world a bit of a better, a more accepting place, and a place that people can just express themselves without worry or without concern, and that people will just treat each other as people without worrying about where they come from or how they look.
I think for me, what I think is just like education. I mean, it starts through schools, adding a bit of about history about, colonialism in schools so kids know what's happened in the past, and if you're a friend, you've got people of color who's your friends, just go and buy books and, educate yourself. Even yourself, you buying the comic book, there's a way you supported me, but there's my story in there, in a sort of a theological way that I express that story. So just buy books, educate yourself. If you have questions, create this discussion and talk about things that you do not understand. And I think we have a long way to go, but slowly by slowly we'll get there, because even you inviting me to your podcast and us having this conversation is part of, those steps that we're taking, so we know how we can all live together in a community together as one human. So just buy books, watch movies, and support Black businesses if you can. Try out some African food,
No. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was my final wrap-up question. Now, I love food, and I know that you love food. Yes. Tell us about food in your life, what it means, and what it means in your life. What is food in you?
Food means life. We bond with food. If I ever get a chance to meet you and I cook you a good meal at my house, we're just going to be friends forever. This has happened to me with my friends who have come to our house for like a barbecue, and my mom has made food and my sister's made food. So food brings together, especially in the African culture. You come to our house, you're in for a treat. You're not just coming for a cup of tea and crisps. You're coming for some rice, everything. And after the whole party, you have to take a box of food that is left. Mom always does that, and my Scottish friends absolutely love it. So food is a big part of who we are. And if I'm in a good mood, I'll cook. food that tastes really good. And if I'm in a bad mood, the food won't really taste good and I'll rush
Oh.
it. So I gotta cook when I'm in a good mood. So make sure the first time I ever cook for you or whoever that is listening, I'm in a good mood. So food is really a big thing in our culture, and I'm not myself when I'm hungry. That's how
Oh
food is.
no.
I'm like quiet, awfully quiet.
I'm quite snappy. Unfortunately, the kids are putting on their tin helmets. You know, when it's just like get Papa some food. You know, I mean, really, you know, it's not a great sight. Being hungry is not good. You know, it's nice to have a full or a semi-full belly if you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, Etienne, it's been lovely chatting to you tonight, and it's
Thank
been
you
a
so
real
much.
pleasure. I know there's been a long time in the offing that we've been chatting. We've been trying to organize this, so I'm delighted that it's come off.
Yes.
And there are so many things to your palette of creativity that I'm glad we managed to touch on some of them tonight. Maybe not enough in enough depth, but just to remind everybody again that the Beats of War crowdfunder is just running across your screen just now. So contribute towards that, and we can get Edinburghers, get in there and buy and contribute towards it, because the next book's going to be set in Edinburgh.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Just East Coasters. So thanks very much, and I look forward to when we can sit down and share a plate of something together.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Etienne. Good night.
Good night.